My name is Greg Hemmings, and I'm a filmmaker who a few years ago lost his creative spark. Before contracting a particularly long and exhausting form of COVID-19, I was a prolific creator, producing documentaries, hosting podcasts, speaking on public stages, organizing events, and playing drums in a band. Then out of nowhere, I was overcome by fatigue, and I lost all the energy that powered my creativity. So I started to explore the brain science of creativity, and in the process, I started to get my creative muse back. In the following episodes, I'm going to share with you some of the experiences and the experiments that I went through in my journey to try to find my muse. For the last 2 years, I've been struggling to work my way through a catch-22. I've been feeling spiritually low, which has diminished my creative output. But to raise my spirits, I need to invest in my creative practices, which I have minimal energy to do. But the time has come for me to do something about this. I've decided to explore how my brain works and try some experiments that might help me get my creative muse back. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm not 100% sure where my muse has gone. I know it's going to come back, it's fine. But it is something that I've been reflecting on a lot. So what I've decided to do is when I travel places for work, I'm going to be speaking to a few people who I consider mentors, people who have really made a great life out of being creative, and whether that be as artists or scientists, whoever. I want to talk to them and see if they've got any wisdom to glean, and I'm gonna see if I can work with that. Even though I'm struggling with a lack of inspiration, I have to acknowledge how blessed I am to be working in a creative field. As a commercial film producer, I get to travel the world helping to capture and share stories that create positive impact for the organizations and brands my team at Hemmings House partners with. If I had a career that didn't require me to flex my creative muscles, I think this journey would have been considerably harder. One of my client projects took me to Lima, Peru, to shoot a micro-series about sustainable fisheries. We hired a Peruvian-based cinematographer named Luis Solarat for this project. When I shared with him my creative and spiritual challenges, he told me about a friend of his who is a neuroscience field researcher in the Sacred Valley. The researcher's name is Luke Jensen. Luke maps the brains of people undergoing neurofeedback brain training, a therapy known to help people overcome trauma by literally retraining the brain to create new neural pathways. It supports neuroplasticity and can even help shift the default mode network in ways that promote emotional healing and creativity. Luis made the introduction, and before I knew it, I was on my way to the Sacred Valley to begin a year-long journey of creative healing.
Something called Alpha-theta training. And this is a training that takes you down to hypnagogic states between sleep and awake. This is the place of creativity. This is the place of the subconscious. This is a place where the conscious mind meets the subconscious mind. So the alpha state is more of a meditative state. It's more aware state. In the theta state, there's no self-awareness. You're gonna put the headphones on, we're gonna attach basically one electrode, but there's 2 ear clips and one ear forehead has like a ground and one electrode. So the one electrode is going to read your brainwaves. We're going to put it in a part of your head where it's associated with meditators and deeper states and spiritual states, and it's subconscious. So we'll put this on your head to read your brainwaves, and it'll reward the brainwaves that we want to encourage, alpha and theta. So you hear 2 tones, alpha tone and theta tone. The alpha tone is the higher tone, the theta tone is the lower tone. And basically just want those tones to increase. Some people try, but for me, I just let my brain do the work. And I just close my eyes and it does the work, and your brain learns how to.
It was a pretty amazing experience. Every time the EEG sensors picked up an alpha wave in my brain, a pleasant tone played over the nature sounds that the software was sending to my headphones. When a theta wave was detected, a different pleasant tone would sound. And when alpha and theta waves crossed over, an ideal brain state for relaxation and creativity, both tones would play together, rewarding my brain and encouraging more of that crossover activity.
So right now we're looking at the spectral analysis. We have delta waves, theta waves, alpha waves, and beta waves in proportion that he's experiencing in his brain right now. It's a different way to look at the Alpha-theta training. How you feeling?
It's good. Lots of thoughts going through.
Yeah.
But I could tell I woke myself up a few times, so
Yeah.
you probably saw me.
No, that's normal. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Or hypnagogic state. Sometimes you feel like sleep, but it's actually you're not really sleeping.
Right.
And you're in this state in between. And even if you think you're sleeping, the brain's always trained, even subconsciously. You're not aware of it. So those states between sleep and awake is where things are released. Lots of trauma is released there. So there might be a process happening that you might not be consciously aware of.
I was excited to take this technology home with me and use it over the next several months as I explore new practices to help bring my creativity back.
You can train, a few days a week or every day a week, whatever you feel like. And each training you get better. And each training your brain learns how to access these states more. Brain training has proved to be unique in creating these creative states, especially the Alpha-theta training. It takes you into these creative spaces. So to access these spaces, to access these layers of consciousness allows person to come into their creative self and allows a certain expression of who they are.
The next segment of my journey was to meet several mentors, conduct a handful of brain experiments, and then return to Luke many months later for another brain map to see what kind of delta change might have occurred with my neuroplasticity. My work took me to Vancouver, British Columbia for the Global B Corp Champions Retreat, a gathering of B Corp certified business leaders. One of my dearest friends from that community was also attending. Julie Fonnestock is a marketing professional in New York who, during the pandemic, went on her own journey of rediscovering her muse through DJing and dance. Julie invited me to her floating Airbnb to catch up over a coffee and talk about my creative block. I need to be doing something creative on a daily basis to keep my soul, awakened, if you will. But I don't know how it happened with you in New York, but for me, I lost all my spiritual creative mojo during that time. And I don't know what that was. Maybe it's because we got detached from community.
Yeah.
For a period of time.
We did.
I stopped podcasting. I
Yeah.
stopped blogging, stopped writing. I stopped doing videos. You and I used to put on events with the Love Economy. That is what's fed my soul back in the, and today I'm like, there's no motivation to do that.
You're not inspired the way you used to be. When I got to New York, I knew New York was calling me because of the music scene, the ability to go into a group of people almost at any night of the week and get into my body, let go of my name, my title, my gender, my politics, let go of everything. But when you're with people and you are able to actually shut down that monkey mind and come into the body, music does that. If you allow music to move you, the focus is liberation. It's sort of this like equanimity on the dance floor because we're just there to experience the rhythm. We're there to connect to ourselves. And that's why I do it. That's why I have spent hours now. I have literally spent so many hours alone just on the decks working out my own freedom. I know I can go to my decks now, just like I can go to the dance floor. And if I'm struggling with anything, self-critique, or judging others, someone else, a lack of forgiveness in my heart, I can bring that shit to my sacred space, to my instrument, and that's what I'm going to try to offer. That's what I continue to try to offer when I'm up there. When I get the privilege of being the one to bring the beats, I want to be in service. That's what I'm here for.
Julie found a way to clear her mind and soul through house music and body movement. She approaches her craft as a healing meditation for both her audience and herself. Our conversation helped me remember what it was about filmmaking that used to activate my soul. It was the act of creating something from scratch and sharing the work with others. I eventually built a successful business around that creative passion. But the more I look at it, I see where I may have gone wrong that contributed to my creative malaise. You see, I let the art of growing a business overtake the business of living my life as an artist. So maybe it wasn't just the impacts of long COVID that led me to this place. I've been so focused on building a business that, without realizing it, I shut off the valve that once fueled that business, my creativity.
You're such an artist. That's not going to change.
I appreciate you saying
That's not going to change.
thank you for this. I knew talking to you would be a good way to start this journey.
Oh, you got this, Greg. Life is constantly about redefining.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, I'm finding that. Like, I feel like I've already had 4 lifetimes.
Yeah. How exciting.
How exciting is that? How cool is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you.
When Julie was isolated in New York during the worst of the lockdowns, she rediscovered her passion for music, which blossomed into her love for DJing. It was time for me to rediscover the things that once fed my creative soul, one of which is live music. I hadn't treated myself to a live show in a long time. Before the pandemic, I'd regularly attend live concerts, always feeding my spirit with the energy gifted by the musicians on stage. When I was invited to screen one of my films in Washington, D.C., I learned that Goose, one of my favorite bands, was playing a show, so I immediately bought a ticket. So here I am in Washington, D.C. to check out one of my favorite bands, Goose. It's going to be an incredible show tonight, especially because of my mission to see the lads close up as they enter group flow themselves. Group flow, of course, something I'm very interested in, and how people on stage can actually create art together and find those special spiritual moments together while they're playing music. I also reached out to guitarist and vocalist Rick Mitrotando to see if he'd talk to me about his own journey overcoming creative and spiritual blocks. For someone who so expertly creates novel music and deep jams with his bandmates, I wanted to learn how he stays inspired. He graciously agreed to chat. Back in the beginnings of COVID, I ended up getting what they call long COVID. All it was for me was a year of being exhausted. The most disappointing spiritual thing for me was it felt like every creative muscle atrophied as well. Not a lot of people were talking about that, the impact on creative people.
Yeah, I could actually talk a lot about that.
Please.
relate to that in a pretty deep way, actually. It's been a long road. I got sick when I was 2021. Like Epstein-Barr virus, kind of, it started as like a mono thing, but just never went away. Morphed into sort of like a chronic fatigue thing, you could say. When your systems start to shut down in certain ways, there are certain things that go right away, and creativity's on that list. Because your body's just kind of like working on the base functions, and you lose your zest for a lot of things, and creativity's kind of the first thing that goes. So it's been like it's obviously been a long journey since then, for me at least. And there's been moments of flow happening, and then there's been a lot of moments of fighting, and it's just kind of been a battle in a lot of ways. So as you're weeding through this stuck physical energy, you're uprooting stuck emotional energy and things at the same time.
I fully relate to Rick's idea of stuck energy. I think that's actually the best way to describe what I've been going through.
Meditation is a big thing that helps with creativity in general, and engaging and being present, I think, is probably the biggest thing. You don't realize it, but things move. Like I end up creating a lot more without realizing it. You could be having this entirely different mental experience of, I suck, I can't write, I don't know how to do this is terrible, and like wherever these things are, these good ideas are coming from, have to sneak their way past that narrative, and they do. If there's this like higher intelligence out there that's trying to get these ideas or these creations, whatever they are, through, both parties are having to fight through the density of thought that we're accustomed to, that we're in every day. We wake up and we're just like, la, 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 la. I don't know. The pursuit is worth it. It's the dedication and staying, not giving up. What we're really talking about is getting out of the way.
Peter Anspech from Goose also generously joined me backstage to talk about flow states and the power of making live music with and for others. Tell me about your walk into flow states and, as a musician in this band.
I tell you, it's definitely, like, the flow state is just one of the most beautiful things that happens to me in life. I just am so fortunate to have found music, which is my gateway into that realm. Honestly, like, sometimes we're in it, and I check into the fact that we're in it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And I'm like, I'm doing something that I've never done before, and I'm like, how am I doing that? And then I'm like, I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep doing it and enjoy. Like, cause if you get a little too analytical, you're gone. I think in the flow state, you're not really deciding. And like, you don't have to think about like keeping time or like what even you're doing. You're just like instantaneously reacting to what everyone else is doing, and hopefully you have enough training on your instrument in order to like do that well. But like, don't question it. Just go. We get energy from like finding new ideas within our own music. Like, a lot of our crowd responds to like new creative improvisation we're doing on stage. The intention behind that is just stay inspired. So it's like, maybe just taking risk for me is finding more inspiration. And like that inspiration is leading to like just more flow moments, It's like all like a circle.
The songs that I've written that are the most compelled by throughout time are the ones that I don't even remember writing. They're just like, it's like, I don't know, it didn't come from my, the good stuff doesn't come from my brain. It comes from, where it's like the brain is like an antenna for the good stuff, When it comes to writing, solitude is generally where those voices in me start to speak more, when things are quiet and things are slow and things are open, and usually when I start to get more inspired in that way when I'm on my own.
As Rick and Peter described entering flow and acting as antennas to receive musical ideas, I was brought back to my 20s, playing bass and drums in a church worship band. I remember moments when the band and congregation were completely in sync, sharing intention and energy through the music. It was a collective spiritual experience. There's something magical about playing music with others when everyone is locked into group flow. One of the singer-songwriters behind many of the worship songs we played was Brian Dirksen. Brian's songs are sung in churches all around the world. Brian's songs have always had a special power for me. He's also a songwriting coach. Brian welcomed me to his home to talk about how creative ideas are received.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm great.
Thank you for letting me come over and hang out for a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
This is a big privilege for me to meet you.
Oh, welcome.
Awesome. What I'm trying to do in my life is trying to get back into that place where, creating comes naturally, and that incredible feeling of finding flow.
I think all creative people in the world experience that sense of maybe the wrestle, the struggle, and then there's this breakthrough moment. And it's almost like time, you step out of time or something, or you're so in time with whatever's happening that you're not having to analyze it or force it. It's just, in that zone. They're in that flow zone.
Has that happened in your life, in your long career you've been playing?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's happened several times, but the most dramatic time was about in the year 2010. I entered a 5-year wordless winter, and I couldn't write songs. I literally had to let it go until the spark landed, and I had my first lyrical idea that I'd had. And with that lyrical spark came hope.
Oh.
Hope that maybe I could re-enter that creative zone again. I pulled up to a traffic light, and all of a sudden there was electrical current coursing through my whole body, shooting out of my fingertips. It was so intense that I thought I was being almost like consumed, okay? It's a warm September day. I've pulled up the traffic light, and I'm just like my whole body is just shaking. And then all of a sudden I start hearing, it's like a voice. Purify my heart, let me be as gold. And as soon as the gold hits, it's like dust. It's like, but it's like I don't know what to do with this, and it's like time stops and everything, and then all of a sudden, this horn and behind me, because the light had turned green, and I was just frozen there in this car, and so I had to start driving, and then I went back to my place of work, and I said, I'm here, but I'm not here, and I went and holed up in the back corner, and I pulled up my guitar, and I started writing a song that became Refiner's Fire, and it's all mixed up with this profound experience that I had.
You've only known me for a couple hours. I'd love to glean a little bit of hopeful advice from you as a fellow creative, as an artist. Anything come to mind?
I have a Friday morning appointment with myself to write songs, and I walk over to this piano right here, and I know it's my time. And sometimes I arrive with nothing, and I sit there, and my hand goes, where do you want to fall today? How could I say there is no so in your world, like, what are your structures, or what are your gateways in order to get flow? Is it getting on a drum kit and starting to play? Is it pulling out that pad of paper when you have nothing and say, but it's my time? In the end, it's the content that's in the container, not the container itself. But if you have no container, if some content is being given and you have no way of collecting it, it gets lost. The seeds, the sparks, only come once. You have to learn to become a seed collector. You have to learn to become a fire container.
Brian's own wordless winter ended with a spiritual experience that reignited his songwriting. Since then, he's protected his muse by creating structured time in his creative life. I've rarely built discipline around my structured creation time, but that needs to change. Taking these first steps, opening up to people I trust, has been freeing. Conversations with fellow creatives like Julie, Rick, Peter, and Brian open doors for meaningful insights and strategies that I can apply to my own path. Each of these conversations felt like a spark, just like Brian described. Luke helped me realize I can change the way my brain works through neurofeedback brain training, something I'll continue to practice daily for the next several months as I go through this journey. Julie reminded me that I am a creative soul. I just need to do the work of keeping up with the practice. Rick and Peter reignited my desire to play live music and rediscover that group flow. And Brian reminded me that creation is always calling. These conversations have inspired me to pull out my drum set out of my closet and see if my old rock band would get back together again for the first time in years so we can experience group flow again. Join me next time as I start to feel the sparks of creative energy again, because as Brian's song declares, creation calls.